Hello. Welcome to Tea with the Druid. This is Tea with the Druid number 322. And my name is Philip Cargom, and Tea with the Druid is brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. And it's lovely to see there are 144 people already gathering around the fire in the circle. And it's lovely to see you from places as far away as Barkham down the road, South Carolina, somewhere, Gannakoke in Ontario, Southern California, Austin, Texas, Prince Edward Island, Canada, Crouch End, Manchester, Drizzly, Dartmoor, Dreich, Scotland, County Durham, Auckland, hooray, on the other side of the world, Florida, southern Germany, Calgary, East Yorkshire, Ohio. Lovely. Welcome everybody to gather around. And as we all gather around, let's just take this opportunity. It's so lovely just to be together on a Monday evening, just to settle, find a really comfortable spot where you feel just right. There are lots of logs, nice dry logs that you can pull up, or there's some nice mossy ground that you can sit on that's dry too. There's a little fire crackling in the middle of the circle. And just close your eyes just for a second and tune in. And you might like to take a big sigh. Whenever I do that, I sort of automatically find myself breathing in more deeply and then, letting out a sigh. I can rest here. And then just notice where your consciousness drops to, just when you let go and kind of settle in and get comfortable. Does it drop down into your tummy, into your heart, somewhere in the middle, somewhere down the bottom? Maybe it's the soles of your feet. Maybe it's the top of your head. Where are you in all of this that is you? And how are you feeling? What's the word that comes to you? Just have a word to describe how you're feeling, always bearing in mind you might feel very different a few minutes later, but just at this precise moment. And then if you'd like to share that with us, that would be lovely. That would be great to hear how you're doing. Calmer, feeling good, cozy, relaxed. My neck, head and happy, vulnerable, calm. Yes, do say what part of the body. It'd be interesting. Bridge of the nose. How interesting. It's itching. Oh, right. Okay. Iffy guts, immy guts, tummy, anxious, tired, feeling a little stressed, relaxed, but also somehow anxious. Top of the head and full, lunchtime for me, fortunate, my spine, anticipating moving forward, centered, my solar plexus, chilled and groovy, happy, relieved. Also the bridge of the nose. We've got two people located in their noses at the moment. Solar plexus, my tummy, I haven't eaten yet, feeling inspired, energy all down my spine, new moony. I'm in my throat, feeling anxious but excited. My chest, and I'm feeling peaceful, knowing autumn is around the corner. In my chest, my ambipolar field is tingling, calm, bladder, back, sunburn on nose. Now, there's another nose in here. It's cold outside. Solar plexus, calm, toes. Somebody's in their toes. Joy, loving that it's September and the dark moon is strong. In a deep part inside me, so deep it may not be physical, suddenly washed with a wave of happiness. How lovely. Yes, had a delightful time in my grove among the oaks, relaxing, tummy. Good. Well, it's lovely to see you. Well, August isn't long past, only by a few days, and August is the traditional time for weddings and handfastings. This is because August was a time in the past, and still is, a time of bounty, where nature's abundance is there, and we know that the winter and the dark nights are coming, but for the moment we've got the long days, and it seems time to celebrate and to come together, and why not get married? And so I've decided that we should bring in a specialist on this topic because it's a serious business, and you've got to make sure you're making the right decision. So I'm going to, by magic, call in River Jones.
Hey.
Yeah, hello, River. How lovely to see you. That's great. Now, for how you doing, River?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you, Philip. Yeah.
What part of the body are you currently operating from?
Well, as we were tuning in, I could mostly feel my back, just sort of generally kind of trunk and back. But then, I was quite kind of deliberately focusing in on my feet because, I'm quite excited about joining you for tea with the Druid. So I'll just, keep
So you're
myself
trying to ground yourself.
nice and grounded. Yeah.
Yes, good. Hooray. And you're an expert in hula hooping, aren't you?
Well, I don't know about expert, but I'm very much a huge enthusiast. Yes.
Of the hula hoop. Okay. Not only that, you also run this magnificent institution called the School of Celebrancy,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is a part of OBOD, and it had the most lovely genesis, really, didn't it? It had a beautiful beginning in a place called Earth Spirit outside Glastonbury in Compton, London, and we had it was something like about 25 people, wasn't it?
I think it might have been nearer 40, but who
Well,
knows?
yeah, I mean, there were a lot, maybe 30, 40, a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. It was a good crowd of people.
Yeah.
And we were together for about, I don't know, 3 days or something, three or
Yes.
4 days.
Yeah.
And doing an intensive kind of workshop on becoming a celebrant. And you helped us with that and presented at that. And at the end of that, people said, why doesn't OBOD do a course in celebrancy? And I remember saying, no, we won't do that. We don't want to start doing more things, but we ended up doing it, and it's been a tremendous success. And there's various courses that you have created, and I wanted to talk about, since we were just, Lunasa was the last festival, and this is the
Yeah.
time, just still about the time of marriages and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Talk about a course that you and I worked a bit on together, and Liz Williams too, about hand fasting. Like, let me start by asking. I'll try and think of a really difficult question to get cracking. If why should I get a hand fast? Imagine I'm not married,
Yeah.
and why should I get hand fasted rather than married if I want to?
Okay. Well, I'd say one of the reasons why I would suggest a hand fasting is because by its very nature, um, it's an ancient form of marriage, and
Right.
so we're kind of digging down and getting closer to what it really means to get married. And we know that it was definitely a very ancient form of ceremony. That evidence is in language that we all use. So people still talk about getting hitched, about tying the knot, about taking someone's hand in marriage. And so we know for all of these reasons, as well as other things in the historical record, that that hand fasting was this way of getting married. And when you think about it, if most of us just sort of think back to the beginning of most romantic relationships that we've had, often hand holding may be one of the first things that happens.
Isn't it? I've never thought of that actually, but the way the oldest representations we have of human art are those amazing hand prints
Yeah.
on caves that you
Yeah.
find all over the place,
Yeah.
Australia and Africa and so on. And there's a way in which, as you say, that there's something very, when you fall in love with somebody, and the very first time you hold hands together in public, there's something about that, isn't there? There's something about, obviously there's the first kiss and so on. That's
Yeah.
powerful. But the very first time that you sort of dare, in a
Yeah.
way, you just take
Yeah.
that risk, and you you put your hand out and you take, and there's this lovely feeling of connection. You're carrying on walking, or you might be talking to somebody who you've met. It's a very touching and beautiful moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually a really beautiful and intimate thing, isn't it? When you first hold hands with somebody, you know, whatever the circumstances, not the handshake, that's a bit different. So David Jones is saying, why is it called hand fasting? It's just simply short for hand fastening. That's all, you know. So hand fastening, or you can say to, you know, to hold fast, you know, is to just to hold to to fasten is to tie. So that's.
What do you think? Okay, I've got a nice difficult one here. Somebody's saying I should think that a hand fasting creates less of a ball and chain mentality about the union than would the mainstream view.
I would really hope so, and definitely if you were to have a hand fasting with me or a celebrant like me, or indeed I hope any celebrant who's trained with the School of Celebrancy, because one of the things that you know, what I think is the sort of central part of the ceremony, what definitely is the central part of any relationship celebration or commitment ceremony, are the words that you actually say to each other. And in a religious wedding or a state wedding, then those words are going to be prescribed and set out for you. But I think what's really magical and exciting is when we can, working with a couple, to really support them to be able to say exactly what that moment means to the two of them, what marriage means to the two of them, what they mean to each other, you know, and what are the things that they really want to promise or affirm or express the intent around.
Yes. No, thank you. David O'Reilly Martin saying, is there a list of celebrants on the Obod Way? Yes, indeed. If you go to About and look, you'll find there's lots of people listed there who've trained in celebrancy. Yes, absolutely. And somebody mentioned Desmond Morris. Do you remember, who did a lot of work on? Whoops, where are we?
Oh yeah, the naked ape. Is that him?
Naked ape. Yes, he did a lot of work with the chimps and so on, didn't he? And he referred to hand holding as the biggest leap on the journey into intimate touch. So there's something important about it. Daniel's asking, is hand fasting legally binding?
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. A hand fasting is it's a way of celebrating a marriage, and I mean, I guess in some places it could be, but the legal question is it totally varies depending which part of the world you're in. Even here within the UK, the rules as they apply in England and Wales are different to those in Scotland. So in Scotland, it is possible to have a hand fasting and that be a legally binding ceremony if it's performed by somebody who's a registered celebrant with the Scottish Pagan Federation. Here in England and Wales, you know, you can't have a hand fasting as part of a legal wedding. People do the legal thing, that's ticking the legal box, and then they gather together all the important people in their lives, everyone they want to be there, and they can get married anywhere they like, whatever time of day or night, and with exactly the ceremony that they want.
Exactly. So it's incredibly freeing, really. What you know, I think that's the thing. If you realize whatever the legal requirement is in the country you're living in, you can just do that, and then and put all your energy into the one that you want to do in your own way. And you know, rather like with funerals as well, isn't it? I think it's incredibly liberating for people to know that you can do anything. You know, when people talk to me about having a funeral, I say, you know, you really can do, you know, whatever you like, you know, well, within reason, I suppose. So yes. There's people, a lot of people are asking about the course. So I'm just going to pop these questions up. We'll do these questions. If I do this, does that enable me to practice in Australia, or do I also have to do a course as a celebrant?
So, Linda, in Australia is one of the countries where I think, in fact, Australia is really important in the history of sort of celebrancy as a profession, because I think it was one of the first countries that brought in this idea that you could become a legal celebrant. Anyone can become a legal celebrant. They don't have to be anything to do with the religion. But our course isn't anything to do with the legal side of things, because again, that's very specific to the country that you're in. Our courses are about giving you a whole load of resources and structures and guidance about how to work with individuals to create bespoke ceremony, and to create, with the handfastings course very specifically, it's about creating magical ceremony as well. So no, our courses won't qualify you legally anywhere. You'll need to sort of deal with the legal side of things, separately, just as I would say, people need to if they're getting married, but it would definitely add on a lot more than what you would get from the legal celebrancy training.
Yes, and in fact, it's really not an issue. I think Kathy's here saying we wrote our own vows, did it all outdoors with their dog and laughs and magic and delight. We had a minister and legal papers all signed beforehand, so you just get through the paperwork beforehand.
Yeah.
So
some people do it after. Yeah, it's fine either way.
Yes. Let me ask you. There's also this little. There's just finally to finish with this topic. There's this interesting question that Stephen Kent is pointing to. It is legal in England where there's a celebrant and someone trained as a registrar. The venue. Now in England, the venue has to be.
Yeah, okay, but it's not. That doesn't make the hand fasting a legally binding ceremony. It's they're completely separate, and the registrar will insist on them being separate as well. If there is I have done weddings where the registrar has done their bit, and then I've come and done my bit. But they're very clear. There has to be a pause. It has to be very clear that these are two different things going on. So. And actually, it costs a hell of a lot of money to get the registrars to come out to one of these legally registered venues as well. You have to. You only have a small choice of places that have gone through this process of being registered venues.
That's one of the,
you might.
Distinctions, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt. One of the distinctions between England and Scotland is in Scotland, it's the registrar who's allowed to do it, and they can do it on a beach or on the top of a mountain, anywhere. Whereas in England, the venue itself has to be. I remember being at a wedding at Lewes Castle. We've got a lovely castle in the middle of our town here, and the wedding was on the top of the mound, but when they started off there, but then they said, because the top here, the lawn here isn't registered, they had to go inside the building, which was a tiny building, so not everybody could go. So a few people went inside. And some mysterious activity took place of signing the registrar, and then they came out, and then they carried on.
I mean, one way of thinking about this: 3 main occasions where people have ceremonies in their life are namings, baptisms, whatever, namings, welcomings, weddings, and funerals. And with the namings and the funerals, you go and register the thing legally, and the ceremony is completely separate from that, and you do it wherever, however you want. And I just think about marriage in the same way personally, and I think that frees you of all the sort of encumbrances as well, of and restrictions that sort of come with that. But there are places where you can meld things together more easily, but most places it's easier just to separate them.
So the School of Celebrancy offers a course in hand fasting, and we were lucky enough to have the wonderful Liz Williams, who is an acclaimed science fiction writer and pagan historian, and she lives in Glastonbury, well, just outside Glastonbury, and she's written the book on hand fasting, hasn't she?
Yeah.
And she came here to Lewes, and we filmed Liz and River talking together, and that's an important part of the course too. The various conversations you had going into detail.
And we did some little demo hand fastings as well.
We did. Our daughter and her boyfriend were I don't know what River's doing now. Heaven knows what she's up to.
I'm plugging in. Sorry,
you're plugging yourself in, right? Okay. Yes. Do you remember we surprised Charlie and
yes,
downstairs and said, we need you to act in a, you know. They were rather surprised, but they did the job, and we filmed them because you have to get the tying right. And what's the significance? Because in a way, here's another difficult question for you. I don't know why I'm fixated on asking difficult questions. I don't know. Here's another difficult question. Isn't there something a bit peculiar about tying hands together? I mean, why should you want to be tied to somebody?
I think the way I speak about it in ceremonies I do, it's a way of sealing the vows, you know, just as like we would say with the rings are a way of sealing the vows. It's like just a physical symbol, you know, symbolic action that seals the sort of pact that you're making. And it's a way that and there's definitely not just one way of doing it. And in my ceremonies, I've done it lots of different ways. The most recent one that I did, which was just this Saturday, the couple actually had 3 hand fasting cords. They had one cord tied by each of their mothers. So each of their mothers brought a cord.
And they stepped forward one by one and tied them on.
And they came forward, and before the ceremony, I'd spoken to both the mothers and got some words from them about how they looked on this relationship and their wishes for the couple. And so whilst they were tying, I was speaking their words, you know, whilst they were kind of, you know, making eye contact with the couple, trying these things.
Wow.
And then the third cord was made from a scarf belonging to her grandmother and a scarf belonging to his grandfather, and they had wound these together, you know, as part of their sort of act. So I always really encourage couples to, you know, because all of this builds the magic and the meaning into the ceremony. And also that had been passed around whilst I was telling the whole story of how this couple had met and fallen in love and, you know, taken the decision to get married, and the proposal story and all the rest of it. Whilst I was telling the story, there were 2, the best man and the little nephew were taking this cord around, and everyone was tying on some little threads that had been specially dyed with ivy and mahonia bark. And ivy, you may or may not know, has a very long and illustrious association with marriage, because the Greek god of marriage, Hymenios, his altars were decorated with ivy, it said, and it represents, you know, fidelity and trust. And anyway, they'd been specially dyed, these little threads, and before I told the story, everyone got their thread, and I led them through a little moment of inner reflection, you know, holding this thread and imbuing it with their wish for the couple. So it had both of their families in it and all of the wishes of everyone present. And there was a moment when I tied the course and said, okay, everyone shout out your word of blessing now. So, yeah.
That sounds absolutely magic. And of course, what it is doing is, in a way, it's, you know, the way, you know, if the couple happens to have a child, the DNA, you know, it's sort of almost like making a symbolic of that, sort of suggesting, you know,
just that sense of that, the union of their 2 families, and really bringing in the blessings of their ancestors, I feel.
Yes, there is a, you know, just as we do this in namastes and with praying, and I think, isn't that, I don't know whether I've been watching too many westerns or something like that, but isn't there a thing where you sort of, you know, you cut your,
that was Blood Brothers, when they used to do that,
you know, or, you know, so this is a powerful gesture, and bringing hands together.
And
Yeah.
there's two options. We demonstrated them when we did that little demo thing. You know, there's
Yeah.
sort of hand in hand, you know, as you would hold hands to walk along the street. And
Mm.
some people like to do the jumping over the broom at the end of the ceremony and
Yeah.
to stay handfasted, you know, during the ceremony, jump over the broom hand in hand.
Yeah.
But if they're not going to do that, I often get them just to sort of face each other and sort of stack their hands together, so they've got all four hands, you know, and you know, either way, I always sort of complete by kind of holding their hands, you know, like this, and giving a kind of elemental blessing, which is very much in the moment, yeah, not scripted.
How lovely! How lovely! That's well, from my experience of being hand fasted in a castle in Ireland with Stephanie, and of doing some hand fastings, and I know it's like all these things. If you bring consciousness and love and some understanding of the sort of mechanics of magic, if we can say that, the mechanisms of magic, bring all those together, and you can these events become even more important than, you know, or imbued with a sort of meaning, you know, that's very profound.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know, River, I've looked at the clock and it's 27 past, and
Oh my goodness.
we have an appointment. Both of us have an appointment, don't we? We have to go into the hearth to take biscuits with Druids. There's some of you may not know. There's tea with a Druid, and then there's biscuits with Druids in the Druid hearth, which is within the order's groves. So I think it's a topic that's really of interest. I think do have a look. If you just type in the School of Celebrancy online, you'll find it, and the hand fasting course is there, and then the course for funerals called Serving the Living and the Dead for funerals, and the course for conventional weddings and not conventional but magical weddings and baptisms and so on, memorials and so on, is Celebrating Life. So 3 courses there, so have a look there. Let's finish. You're going to do a little kind of blessing meditation piece that you might do in a hand fasting, I guess, or
I'm not going to do the one I do in a hand fasting. I'm going to do something that I do when we have our sort of finish our webinars, our monthly celebrants.
Yes, because in the court, the students come on webinars, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
How long would you like me to make it?
Just a few minutes.
Okay.
4 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll give you the stage.
Okay. So, yeah, I'd just like to invite you all to just get really comfortable now, wherever you are. I guess most of us are in our homes or near our homes, but you know, wherever you're sitting, just take a moment to get really settled in your seat and feel both your feet on the ground. And you might like to just roll your shoulders out. Maybe give your hands a little bit of a shake, you know, perhaps move your head, whatever you need to do to just ease yourself into your body. And then take a nice deep breath and let that breath come out, and just settle in the moment into your breath, into your body. Just feeling that breath coming and going. No need to force any change in the pace of the breath, but just perhaps just feeling that little pause that comes in between the in-breath and the out-breath, and between the out-breath and the next in-breath. And I invite you to just take your attention now down into the soles of your feet, feeling the connection between your feet and the ground. And with your imagination now, reaching down to the foundations of the building that you're in, into the layers of earth and rock. Just sensing that darkness and density of the earth beneath you. Reaching out with your imagination, your knowledge of where you are, just to feel the nearest trees, sensing their root networks deep beneath the soil, spreading out towards you. Just feeling that presence of the earth beneath us. This earth supporting and holding every one of us in this moment. And let's take a breath together now with this earth beneath us. And just feel from this strong foundation with the earth, perhaps feel a sense of your spine lengthening as you bring your attention now to the crown of your head, imagining that you could feel open at that crown, remembering that little soft spot that we all had when we began our journey on earth, just sensing that join. And again, reaching out with your imagination up through the roof of the building that you're in, up to the sky, being aware of the light or the darkness, aware of the dark moon traveling through the sky for some of us, perhaps beneath us, for others above, for others approaching the horizon to east or to west. Just being aware of the wind and the weather. Is it a cloudy or a clear sky? And just remembering whatever time of day or night we are revolving around this sun in our sky, and all of the stars, whether we can see them or not, are shining. Just sensing that energy of the stars, the twinkling stars, the countless stars in the skies surrounding our earth in every direction. And let's take a breath now together with the sky above us. And now I invite you to reach out with your imagination to the nearest flowing water to where you are. Perhaps it's a stream, perhaps it's a river, perhaps, as where I am, it's an underground channel, an aquifer flowing towards the sea. The water flowing perhaps to meet other streams and rivers, but all of those waters on their way to join the oceans, sensing the oceans surrounding the lands where you live, the waves rolling into the shores, the tides coming and going, pulled by the moon, the great oceans linking all times and all places on our planet, where the clouds will form, and from whence the clouds will travel and bring the life-giving waters to our lands, to flow through these streams and rivers. And let's take a breath together with the waters of the world. And just reminding ourselves that these breaths are shared with every living being on the land, the plants, the birds, the animals. Let's just take a breath with every living being on our land. And may the blessings of the earth and the heavens and the waters of the world be with us all, sustaining and nourishing and inspiring and supporting us. And I just invite you just to rub your hands together now and just rub them together until you can feel some warmth in the palms of your hands, and then just bring your hands to your face and just give your face a little bit of a massage as you just come back into this sense of sitting in your home. And just bring your fingers over your eyes and give them a little tap and look somewhere else, not at your screen first of all, as you let the light come gently through between your fingers. And just when you've adjusted to the light in your room, let's come gently back into presence with one another on the screen.
Marvelous, River. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you for all that you do in the School of Celebrancy. And I'll see you over in Biscuits in a minute. You'll find, just have a look in your inbox. You'll find there's an invitation to go in there. And thank you, everyone, for being with us. Have a lovely week. And in the meanwhile, much love, many blessings. Bye.
Bye.